Heard on Thursdays with Nikki is about to go live online. Catch HOT, the iconic radio show that made Philippine FM radio talk, every Thursday on The Monster.
Streaming video on the Monster Facebook page at RX931, the Monster YouTube channel at RX931, and twitch.tv/Monster RX931.
You heard on Thursday's host, Nikki Porter. Stand by and enjoy the program.
Hey, good evening, Monsters, and happy anniversary once again to the Monster. That did happen, I think, last Tuesday, August 23rd. Now, as you know, our station and its mother company, Audiovisual Communicators Incorporated, or ACI, celebrated its birthday last August 23. So here's to many more years of massive, memorable, and meaningful entertainment from Manila's hottest, Monster RX 93.1. Including this program, of course, which we are proud to say is one of the landmark radio programs introduced by the Monster. Heard on Thursdays, the show that made Philippine FM radio talk. Hi, I'm your host, Nikki Porter, bringing you hot conversations on HOT, winner of several KBP Golden Dove Awards in the magazine program category. Because when you're gifted, then you're gifted. That's a lyric from Funny Girl, the popular musical that launched Barbara Streisand and is now enjoying a Broadway revival starring Lea Michele. When you're gifted, then you're gifted. Like our guest for tonight. She won fame at a very early age as a so-called gifted child in an infant formula commercial. Of those gifted kids, she was the 8-year-old who read science books and played a lot of musical instruments, the junior anatomist who knew how the cardiovascular system works. But though her early interest was in science, her gifts came into full view in a different career. So this gifted child is now one of today's top fashion and lifestyle photographers in the country. So without further ado, heard on Thursdays, let me introduce to you guys SHAIRA LUNA. Hey! Hello. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to talk to you, SHAIRA, because it's like I worked in publishing for like maybe less than a year, but I worked in publishing to like long enough to know your name. Like it was thrown around like in different like women's titles because those were the titles I was under. And so yeah, to be able to speak to you now, it's come full circle in some way.
Thank you. Thank you. So nice to be able to talk to you.
I'm so glad. Well, first of all, congratulations also to you and Kokoy. So, Monsters, if you didn't know, SHAIRA got married last August 12 in Intramuros. Hey, there we go. Flaunt it. So that also means August will also be her anniversary month, just like the Monster. So our best wishes to you and cheers to a long and happy marriage. So we'll get to the subject of your wedding in a bit and that very beautiful, very SHAIRA, if I may, dress that you wore. But first, though, let me ask you the question that I usually ask all of my guests. So you've been busy with work and preparations for your wedding as of late, since it was fairly recent. It was this month as well. So 2 years before that, during the pandemic, what were you doing? You're a photographer. Shoots couldn't push through. And so like how did you bide your time during that time?
Well, I think for the first 3 months, it was pretty quiet, but shoots really started to roll in. So we were really on set. It just took a lot of adjustments with protocols and stuff, but we were actually working also a lot throughout the pandemic. I'm very thankful for that, but also it was a little scary for most of us because we didn't really know what we were getting into, but we just had to keep moving and working because otherwise everything would be at a standstill, and it's very hard for creatives to just be still. So we had to find ways, and thankfully it worked out for most of us. So very happy and very thankful.
Yeah, so I'm really glad that it actually still persevered even in the midst of the pandemic. So that's really great. And so but apart from work, is there anything that you do outside of photography Or is your whole life centered around photography that you managed to find other hobbies during the pandemic?
No, that's a pretty good way to put it. I think I really have to admit my life does revolve around what I do or
Uh-huh.
creating. I actually thought I would go nuts during the pandemic because prior to the lockdown, I would really take every free day I had and shoot. So if I wasn't working,
Mm,
I would produce my own shoots because I just, couldn't stop shooting or like
right.
creating or producing things. So I really thought like when they announced the lockdowns, oh my god, what am I gonna do? But
Oh.
actually we found lots of things to do here in the house. I think Kokoy and I are very makalikot people, so we're
Mm.
always able to find things to fix or things to move or ideas to work on. So it was like a good productive time that we were able to make out of it.
Okay. And so when it came to your wedding though, I mean, we are waning from a pandemic, but did you take a leap of faith for you to decide to get married at this time, or was it something that you planned without hesitation?
No, we actually never planned on getting married. Every time our friends would ask us because we
Yeah.
were together. I don't think I've ever said this anywhere. Like we've been together 19 years. So
What?
I
Oh
know
my gosh.
not a lot of people know that. I mean, just our close friends do, but it's because I don't. We don't really. I know it's like we don't have photos or stuff.
Mm, okay.
It's not.
You don't have photos and you're a photographer, Shira.
It's very like low key, so only like some of our friends know. Like yung iba nagulat, they're like, "Ay, may boyfriend ka pala."
Uh-uh.
So I think that's why a lot of people were surprised. But we've been together for more than half my life, so we it wasn't in the plan anywhere. We always said no, we're not getting married. But some things happened during the pandemic, and we realized I think we need to be like responsible for each other. So it was just for that, just to kind of cement it. But no plans at all, like nothing. It was planned in like a month.
Oh wow. Okay. That's so cool. So wait, before we get into the wedding mismo, no. So like
Oh
tell
my
us a
god!
little bit about your now husband, Kokoy. So how did you two meet? So you said 19 years.
I
Were you in
know.
college at that time?
Yes, yes, I was.
Wow, okay. So like how did that happen?
I look a lot younger than people think I am. I'm not gonna say my age. You can just Google it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was in college, and then I met him while I was shooting a band.
Mhm.
In fact, I used to do like the rounds of radio stations, so like I would hang out when they would play there in RX.
Mhm.
So yeah, he's a musician, and he was for around 20 years, like a really long time. He's older than I am, and then
Mhm.
now he's an artist. He works with wood, and then he helps us during shoots. So yeah, that's pretty much it. He's an artist. That's all I can. He's more of an
He's
artist.
also an artist. Okay. But
Yeah, well,
also he helps you with your shoots. That's great. You
yeah,
can
because
always use an extra pair of
I
hands.
cannot park. Like I can't park this in my life, so he has to do the parking for me.
So he's the Parker.
Yeah, he's the
you
parker.
you complement each other then.
I think so. Yeah, because I get lost. I have such a bad sense of direction, and I think because we're a very small team, actually, like it's me, my brother. He's like my tech. He carries my stuff, and then Koi's
Mhm.
like the navigator. So it's just the three of us all the time, and like somehow it's also worked well for us.
Oh, okay. No, that's really cool though. And I love that. Like it's kept it like not really hidden necessarily hidden, but it's just like keep it you kept it on the DL at the start of the relationship. So like that's still I mean that's respectable I think naman na parang because especially now like social media you can't wait. You can't wait to post and share. So, so like really respect there like even with the no photos like wow.
I mean,
How could you keep yourself from
I
doing
only
that?
shared photos because when I didn't even post anything. My friends took like some IG stories during the wedding, but I wasn't even posting anything. And then the next thing I did was like everywhere. So I'm like, I think I have to post a photo because everything that was being shared was screenshots. I'm like, oh, what am I? What a screenshot. So I'm like, okay, I'll post some photos, and then that's it.
Oh, that's so cute. Now, there are many couples though. They usually don't wait too long getting married, especially now. But were there actually talks, before, even before then, like year 5 or year 10? Was this like a decision you guys made early on that no, you guys are not gonna get married?
Yeah, we
Talaga.
were always like, ay nako, wag na. Like we're together anyway, so like
Mm,
we're not really for celebrations or like
okay.
ceremonies. I don't really celebrate my birthday. He doesn't even know my birthday, to be honest. Like if you ask him what my birthday is, like he can't tell you what it is. So we're just like we love giving surprises for other people, but I think like between the both of us, we're kind of like chill and relax. So it was
Mm-mm,
honestly never something we ever thought about. It was just
mm-mm.
like, ay, may schedule, okay, yun lang.
Ganon. So you guys were together for nearly 2 decades. Like
Yeah,
if you put it in that sense, it's like that's a long time. So
yeah.
like being in a relationship with this person. So this question though that I'm about to ask usually gets asked to couples who have been married for years, decades even. But for monsters who are still enjoying the relationship stage, what are probably 1 to 3 things that you could impart to make a relationship last? Because you guys were together for 19 years before you got married.
Well, I think the number one thing because I was really young when we got together. I think it was really how mature he was able to handle it because I was so much younger than he was. So I think he had to deal with a lot of my like teenage, like growing up years, and
Right.
I imagine that would have been horrible, like really, really bad for him because like I was shifting courses and then I was like turning 19 and 20. I didn't know what to do. So like he had to
Mm-mm.
like manage me like ano ba to? Parang like a teenager, like what do I do with this girl? But
Right, right.
I think it's really patience and trying to see where the other person is coming from because Koi and I have very, very different backgrounds,
Mm-mm.
very like completely different backgrounds. So there was a lot of like clashing in the beginning. So I think through time, we eventually like adjusted to each other's like little quirks and
Mhm.
flaws, which I think remain until now. But I think we have begun to understand each other or really try to lift each other up. You can't really change overnight, and it really took those 2 decades for us to be able to be at this point where we're just like so chill, like we just can't imagine life without each other. So that's just how it's been already. Like we didn't even define it as boyfriend girlfriend at the beginning. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I think it's just a great companionship that we've been able to establish throughout the years. What
Alright.
pa ba? The couple ukays together stays together. I think
I love that. The couple who stays
yeah,
together stays together.
he really taught me how to ukay. And we found like,
Oh.
similar hobbies because our personalities are super different from each other. So I think that also
Mhm.
helps like, having similar interests. And then
Right. Yeah.
another thing is also being completely different. Like he's he doesn't really come into like my world of fashion and photography, and I don't really know what he does when he's at home in his house. So, yeah, it's nice that you have things that you do together and then things that you just have no idea about. So I think that's
Okay, so it's like you're sharing a space, but you're also giving each other space, parang ganon,
yeah.
in some way.
In the beginning, we are like, no, we have to be together. We have to like
Ah, okay.
everything, and but now we're like, tanda mo na, kaya mo na yan.
I love that. The maturity.
We're on a
And like
journey.
I love that. That's so great. So, okay, so you're married now. Now we can finally talk about the dress. No. So it was this yeah, the subject of many an article once you got married. It was like a newspapers and everything. Cause so you're also known as a style icon. Like your fashion sense is just like chef's kiss, right? So you're so you're known for your like unique looks that you curate, so to speak, from thrift shop purchases, and you didn't even disappoint with your wedding dress as well. Because even when it came out, like it was, you would think it came from maybe like a custom vintage store or something, but still with a bit of a price tag to it. But it really did just cost 100 pesos? Like, how did that happen? How did you find the dress?
So actually, at first, I was like, okay, we're just gonna have a ceremony, like a signing. But I'm like, there's no way we're just gonna do it like in some office. So like, oh, maybe we can do it in like in a restaurant. So where do I usually shoot? So I honestly just planned the entire wedding like a photo shoot I would produce. So I found the
Mhm.
location first, and then I'm like,
Ah.
oh no, who did I find? No, I found like the officiator first, who happened to be the dad of one of my good friends, Zild.
Mhm.
Um, so he's like, when should we do it? I think Koi's birthday is August 12th. We should do it on August 12th so he doesn't forget. It just happened like that, like one after another. And
Mhm.
then I messaged him. I'm like, Koi, pastor's available on this date. Free ka ba? And then he said, why? It's like, ano, game? Game. It was literally just like
Oh
that.
my gosh.
So, and on the same evening, I'm like, I think we need a location. So I picked one of my favorite photo shoot venues, which is Ilustrado in Intramuros.
Mm.
And then,
Ooh.
like, okay, so it's old world. So I guess the theme can't be 70s because I love the 70s, I love the 60s, but then
Yeah, yeah.
must luma yung Ilustrado. So maybe I should have an older dress. So ganun lang yung thinking. It was
Wow.
one after another. So I actually have a lot of white vintage dresses that I use for my photo shoots. So I was just planning on using one of those. But out of nowhere, my friend who was in La Union was thrifting, and he usually sends me photos of dresses he finds because he knows my size. And then he showed me the dress. Shy 100 lang to. Kunin ko na ha kahit di ka pa mag-reply. Because like, I think I was doing something and then I saw the message
Mhm.
like hours after. Kinuha ko na ha kasi 100 lang to. And then when I clicked on the video, I'm like, oh, that's so cute. And like, alam mo, pwede tong wedding dress.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was just,
Wow.
yeah, just like that.
So
Um,
simple. I love it.
it's actually nice din. Naka-hanger pa siya kasi gagamitin ko pa siya sa Halloween.
Perfect. What a perfect occasion for it as well. No, I
Yeah.
love that because it's like, it okay, for one thing, it's also great that you actually use like the mentality, okay, let's make this like a prod shoot. And then you were able to plan everything. And usually if it's like in media, no, parang it's like last minute or like your tight deadlines and everything.
Yeah.
So I love that you incorporated that for your wedding. It's just so cool. And I think it's also a refreshing way of looking at weddings as well, like a unique perspective also, because you have so many brides who are very like, I want this, I want that, I want it in a year's time, I want it in this church, I want everything like that. So there's just nothing wrong with that, but then it's just like, in this perspective, it's so cute. It's so cute. I don't know if I would be the type to do that also the last minute, but the fact that you pulled it off and it looked just really nice, at least from the screenshots that were showing.
Buti na nag-screen talaga. Sabi ko, oh my God, I need to post something.
No, it's so great. And that's such a nice way.
Yeah, and also I wanted to do the justice because, like, obviously from the screenshots, it does look like a Halloween costume, but I swear it's so pretty. Like, it's very textured. I think it's from the 60s because the tag
Mm.
is super old. You can't even find it on eBay. Like, it's that old. And then the buttons
Wow.
have like little ceramic like things on it. That was so pretty.
Yeah.
And
That's
then I took out gloves from my costume trunk because I have a trunk like
mhm.
filled with things I use for photo shoots. I have hats and then I have gloves from the
Yeah.
1940s, 50s. And like, ooh, parang photo shoot lang talaga to.
Oo nga eh. I love
The
it.
stuff. And then I didn't have a stylist. I didn't even have a photographer. Yeah.
Wow.
So my friends are
That's
just
so cool.
open. So yeah,
Oh,
cute.
that's so nice though. Yeah, very simple but still very memorable, I guess, for you guys. Even if you start like tada or let's go, let's do
And
this.
also my glue, super
Yeah.
like our witness, my friend Dimples. She's like,
Uh-huh.
Shy, you need to host. I'm like, no, there's no program. You don't need to host. And then when we got to the, I'm like, can you tell them they can eat already? Because we had just 3 tables. And I'm like, Dimples, can you tell them they can eat already? That's it.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, that is really like a wedding story that I will remember. Like weddings are made in like years, at least a year. This one a month.
So
Love
many
it.
times. Like, I forgot this. I even forgot the rings.
What? On your
Yes.
wedding?
Well, it was in my bag, but then so the ring symbolized, and then tininan kami like, you have
Oh
the ring.
no.
So my agent had to go through my bag and then like look for the rings. But
Oh my
okay
gosh.
naman, andito naman.
There it is. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. Thank you for sharing your wedding story with the monsters and with myself as well. And so I want to go back to the story with how it was Kokoy that persuaded you to try ukay-ukay. So what compelled Kokoy? Was it his hobby mismo to ukay-ukay? And so like okay, so how did this happen? The first time it ever happened. Walk us through what was going through your mind and like what Kokoy was like, I guess, talking about when he introduced it to you.
Well, I think the very first time I went to the ukay, I think I was 13. I had to talk in Baguio for like this science conference, and then they
Mhm.
took Shai mura dito lahat like secondhand. But I didn't really know anything about fashion, so it wasn't
Mhm.
exciting. It was just like okay, it's cheap stuff. So like fast forward to when I was with Kokoy already. He being in a band, always they always need gig clothes, but like he
Right.
didn't have money. Like he really like he didn't have money to buy clothes for gigs. So the only place he could get them or gig clothes was Bang Bang. So that was where he would really go. And he also knows how to use a sewing machine. He knows how to alter clothes. So he
Love
would
it.
gig clothes. Tapos niloloko ko, parang high school pa lang ako nun ah. That is kind of big, so that's always our point of teasing. Like, parang black and white pata photos mo nun ah. Parang ganun.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, so I think he brought me to Quiapo first.
Mhm.
At that time, I was looking for cameras, and then we
Okay.
made a side trip to one of the ukay-ukays there. I remember being overwhelmed because, like I said, I wasn't really into fashion. I just wanted clothes to use for shoots. I had a lot of outdoor shoots back then, so I think I got camouflage pants, like big army jackets, madaming
Mm.
bulsa, paglalagyan ng batteries or like chargers. So
Right.
everything
Yeah.
bought before was really like for practical reasons. It was a long time before I realized I could go to ukay-ukays, to get creative.
Mm-mm. Wait, so when did that happen then? So you said you weren't interested in the fashion, you were into practicality for and looking for the clothes in the ukay-ukay. So when did it shift na parang, oh, I can actually style some clothes like at the ukay-ukay too.
I think I was being required because as the years went by, like the shoots I did started to change. I was doing more portraits. I was doing more formal things. So I suddenly had the need to dress up and like look a bit more presentable and not just keep
Mm-mm.
wearing like army shorts and camouflage things and black tops, all black everything. And I didn't really have bilang layas ako. I didn't really have money. We were really living on our own, and I think I went to ukay or I also bought on eBay and Multiply. That's where I looked for my clothes. And then it was in 2010, I think, when I really started shooting fashion editorials. And then I would notice the clothes were similar to the things I would see in ukay. So I'd tell this,
Mm.
I think I saw something like that in the ukay. You want me to buy it next time, and then I'll show it to you. It was really like that. It was more of being amused that there were alternatives for the super expensive things we would shoot. That I
Right.
guys. So at first it was like that, and then when I started buying and then started to shoot my own or produce my own shoots, I'm like, bili na lang ako sa ukay. I'm sure I can find
Mm-mm.
something out there. So if I was, for example, trying to recreate maybe like a Gucci shoot or something, and be like, ooh, what can I find in the ukay to be able to shoot like that? And so I would start collecting costumes until I had quite a good collection of clothes that I would use for my 1970s, 1960s, 1950s inspired photo
Wow.
shoots. And then I started running out of clothes to wear. I started wearing the costumes that I would buy. So I think that
Oh, okay.
started. Parang
No,
naubos yeah.
I love that. No, but also I think you enjoy it din naman because it's like your love for those decades also for sure na parang it's like you're wearing it but you love the decade too. So it's like it's no problem. It's like you're emulating good
Yeah.
times from long before.
I
So
think
now
yeah.
So what could you like suggest now? Like the monsters, let's say they're monsters who are struggling with their own fashion sense. They want to curate their own signature wardrobe for themselves. What what's like some advice that you can offer to the monsters, including myself?
Well, number one is if you really, really want to have a sense of style, because I realized from talking to people, like not everyone actually wants to have like fashion sense. Some people just want to be
Mm,
comfortable. But to those who want to, well, aside from ukay-ukays, there are a lot of stores now on Instagram. I think actually during the pandemic, that's what I did. I supported every single IG store I could. So I was just like,
oh, that's so cool.
oh my god, if I could just tell you like how much I spent like during the pandemic just trying to like
So that
shop.
was your hobby. That was your hobby during the pandemic.
I swear, like I think I must have purchased from over 100 Instagram shops during the pandemic. It was just
Wow. Ah, that's
yeah,
so nice of you though. Oh,
yeah,
that's
then
so
you get
cool.
messages like, "Oh, thank you. This we're trying to do this, because we don't have school and stuff."
Mm,
But yeah, I don't know. Like I feel like I would be overwhelmed with all the inspiration from everywhere. There's like TikTok and there's there's no more Tumblr. There's Pinterest, and then you see all the celebrities and where they get their clothes. So I honestly feel like if I were just starting in fashion, I would be super overwhelmed. But it's great to know that you have choices and you have affordable choices. And if you really wanted to experiment with your style, I think ukay-ukays are the way to go because you don't spend that much and you get to experiment with your style.
right.
That's really what happened with me. I honestly don't think I had a sense of style, so it was through buying affordable clothes at the ukay-ukay. I was able to try on different things and then just move on if the character did fit. So that's
Oh,
yeah, one thing. Like just broaden your horizon. You don't need to buy everything brand new. You don't need to buy everything from the mall. Just know that there are a lot of alternatives out there.
all right. That's good advice actually. So I will try one day to actually. I've never. Yeah, I know that's something I should do, but I've never gone to an ukay-ukay. Just walked past it, and I know yes, it's very shameful. I know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but I've been meaning to. I just don't have kasama kasi. So I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I need help in like
Oh,
rummaging through all of the clothes because sometimes there's a ton. There's so
ako
many
naman,
items.
I don't like going with other people because I feel
Oh,
like I need
really?
like I'm like leave me here for 8 hours.
Oh my god.
But some
I
people do
love
need
that.
help because it really can be a lot. Actually, today I came from the mall because I had to source for a photo shoot, so I had to go to like I don't really shop in retail anymore, which is weird because I shoot for fashion. But it's you always have alternatives. I was like, I went inside the mall. I'm like, oh my goodness, like it was so hard for me because everything was already arranged by color and by style. With the ukos, I'm used to just like going through everything at full speed. So I'm like, I was stuck in the
Yeah.
middle of the floor, like, okay, everything's here.
You
So
did
it's
all the work for me.
for me. So like, great. So yeah, that's what I did today. I was in the mall today shopping retail. So at least, like I can balance both worlds at least.
Mm. Yeah. And so for the monsters who are tuned in, by the way, I'm speaking to SHAIRA Luna, who is like this top fashion and lifestyle photographer here in the Philippines. She's amazing and very down to earth as well as I'm talking to her. And it's just so much fun so far. So, um,
To be photographers. I'm so embarrassed when they say that because like there's so many like
okay.
photographers
If,
here.
sige, if it makes you happy, photographer,
Yes,
photographer.
just
Leave
there.
it at that. All right, cool. Okay. So as a photographer though, if you're not being paid for photo shoots, doing editorials, etc., what scene do you usually like to enjoy capturing? Or do you still like organizing shoots during your downtime?
I still love organizing shoots because again I have so many costumes that I buy because I
Mhm.
think I can use them someday in a shoot. So I always have to produce shoots. And if I'm not shooting, nasan pa ba ako? Nasa ukay, naghahanap na naman ng damit. I don't know. I don't think I really do anything else. I mean, I have a lot of friends in the music industry, so I guess that gives me a break from fashion and commercial work because
Mm,
advertising really takes up a huge chunk of my, working
right.
year. So whenever I get the chance, I always collaborate with my friends from the music scene, and I love doing that because I feel like that's really where I started. So I guess it's coming full circle that I get to
Mm-mm.
work with like OPM again because that's really honestly where my photography began.
Okay. And so when you organize these shoots though during your downtime, how do you conceptualize, I guess, what it is that you want to shoot? Is there a particular theme that you usually have during your downtime and then you start and you go from there? Or does someone suggest? How does it work for you? How does inspiration strike?
It's either very quickly or it's something that's been brewing for a while. Like sometimes I'll have a piece that I've kept for 5 years and then I
Wow.
still don't have the right person to wear it, or I don't have, the rest of the outfits to go with it. So I have stuff just stocked in my cabinet. And then sometimes like a model will just fly in from somewhere and then I see her face and I'll be like, oh, I think she would be great in something like, for example, like a movie I want to recreate, and then get it done. It just comes together that quickly. It will depend maybe on the piece of clothing or a prop that I happen to buy. Like for example, what did I buy today? Like for example, like this mug from the 80s. So I'll
Oh,
be like,
wow. Oh, that's so vintage. I love
oh,
that.
and maybe like I can get a vintage shirt and like mom jeans and like imagine coloring or film from the 90s and then look for
Mm.
something that will fit, the look. Good enough. Like I'll just come across something and then think of something to go with it.
That's amazing. Oh, I love that. And I think it also goes with your years of experience in photography as well, like doing several shoots and then that kind of helps. Does that help also with the experience that it's not that hard for you to come up with like the ideas?
It really helped so much because when I was starting and when I was starting to get into fashion photography, I would buy magazines from Book Sale
Ah.
and I would like flip through the pages and then put the little bookmarks. Tapos iisipin kong galing naman nun, like how how am I gonna do that? Like you can't really like when you're starting as a photographer, especially back then because there wasn't YouTube or like um, Instagram. Like you can't find information as easily as you can now. So it was
Yeah.
always a mystery to me how I was gonna be able to shoot something like that. It seemed like a very far reality at that time. But I think through years of really following clients' pegs and working with art directors and working with fashion brands and working with brands in general and trying to like um, capture what they intend to sell or promote.
Hmm.
It suddenly made everything a lot easier. It's like I now have the technical know-how that I can kind of wiggle into
Mm-mm.
my creative side. Like it kind of trickles down to there. So
Hmm.
now when I think of something, it's kind of easier to produce. But maybe 10 or 20, like 15 years ago, I would, not have had the courage to produce shoots like that.
Wow.
With
That's pretty.
experience, yeah.
No, it's really cool though. And I love how you're actually talking about your photography, like, your profession, your experience. It's like you light up whenever you talk about photography. It's like I love that. I love that it's something that you really are super passionate about.
Super. And like it has become more like intense over the years. I think because I guess I know how to do more things. I also
Mhm.
realize there's really so much more I don't know. So all the more reason to get excited about doing things. I don't even know like the latest cameras. I'm not like a techie, so I'm always like, parang, what's new? Like what's happening? So I think I try to keep updated, but at the same time, like I don't feel pressured to do the same thing as everyone else. I'm just always like in a state of curiosity.
Mhm.
Oh, what can I do now?
Yeah,
That's
right.
always like that.
So those who follow like your worker portfolio or agencies who hire you for shoots on the regular, they would be able to say siguro like when they look in a set of photos, like, ay, gawa ni Shaira yan. So in your own words, what are the elements of a tatak Shaira photo shoot?
So it depends. It's so funny. I feel like I have multiple like characters as a
Mm-hmm.
photographer because I'm in that weird space where I can shoot for like these really high profile, formal, like big magazines or brands. And then I also have like this little part where like it's Y2K and it's all the cool kids, and I'm like, I'm sure they
Mm.
know how old I am because like they just DM me and then like I would shoot. It's so easy. It's so easy for them to do that. So I really love that I'm not limited to what they think my style is. But if you did ask someone, they'd always say it's retro or it's vintage. If you ask
Mm.
the editorial side or maybe like the people who see my work on Instagram. But I think in the advertising realm, it's on the opposite end. It has to be very clean, well
Mm-hmm.
lit. You always have to capture a very specific emotion for the key visuals of the brand.
Mm-mm.
So it's a completely different discipline. So I think that's why I enjoy shooting my personal work because there aren't really any rules, and it
Right.
allows me to play with people from different, in not even industries, like just different personalities or characters. It's so different every single week. So I don't know, it just makes me so happy.
No, I see that definitely. And I actually did go through like your Instagram also. I do see like the vintage retro style of like the photography too. And I love it because it's like there's a grainy effect. There's like a what do you call
Yeah,
that? It's like a soft glow kind of effect too that you have. I'm like, yeah, it looks very classy and it
iba.
looks also really or dramatic, well, like especially with the grainy bits also. Like it's so nice. Very
Yeah,
nice to look at. Monsters, you should check it out.
thank you. I actually have 8 Instagram accounts now, so if you look for my name, that's all me.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. Actually, when I was going through your social media, it's like, daming links, ah. But it's like, so I went
Literally,
through each one. I wanted to make sure. I was like, okay, what's this one
daming.
about? What's this one
And
about?
like,
I love
even
it.
things I shoot out of the country, they
Mm,
they look so different from my work here. So,
yeah.
yeah, so that's why I think I had to come up with that many Instagram accounts because I have to separate my commercial work, my Instagram. Actually, sometimes when I work with clients in a studio, they'll be like, "Ay, marunong ka pala mag-studio shoot," because everything on my Instagram is just like location shoot, sa kama, sa
Uh-uh.
ano, sa field, ganyan. So I
Mm-mm.
mean, that kind of makes me happy that I'm not just in one little bubble. So
Right. And so
exciting.
you manage all 8 of the accounts? Ikaw lang? Oh
Mhm.
my, wow. That's
I know.
effort. I would think like 3 or 4 accounts is already too much for
It's so,
me.
it's so
8?
funny. And so I have a closet sale account where I sell like the clothes I don't use in
Mm,
shoots.
right.
And
Mm-mm.
then there was this one girl who was like, can you please ask Miss Shai if ganito ganyan? I'm like, oh, this is her. And then she's like, oh my god, akala ko may staff ka. No, it's like it's all me. I do all the photos and then the
Mhm.
description. I answer everyone. I do the packing. So that's also what I did during the lockdowns. I just started to sell like the clothes I wasn't using. So I managed
Wow.
that. Fun naman. So if anyone replies to you, that's me.
There we go. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And that's like on top of like your work pa and then your schedule, like the schedule you have like with work. So the fact that you can manage all of that, that's very admirable.
habang kaya, habang I feel like I'm always running out of time. So I'm like, habang kaya, gagawin.
Yeah, I love that. So, in your years of professional photography experience, I mean, yes, I mean, it's very humble if you're like, there are other photographers, but I mean, a lot of people know you. A lot of people follow you also. So I think, I have to give credit where credit is due as well. So, what piece of advice though would you give to a budding photographer or even just a creative in general when it comes to building their career?
Probably that you don't have to pattern your career after um, anyone specific. I mean, it's always nice to have inspirations, but you don't have to put so much pressure on yourself, especially when it comes to timelines or goals. I mean, that's just speaking from my perspective because I mean, I wouldn't recommend this for everyone, but I kind of went with the flow. I really tried a lot of different kinds of photography before eventually settling on what I do now. But I think you really just have to understand that it's completely different for everybody. I think the important thing is really to keep on producing work, and it doesn't have to be work every week. You have to produce something every week because people work at different, they have different paces. So if you see someone like producing shoots or posting shoots every day, that doesn't have to be you. Know that you have a different working, what's the term? You have a different way of working or a different way
Mhm.
of doing things. So I think that's
Mhm.
what you really have to tune into. You always have to think about what inspires you. And one thing I always tell people, like whenever I have a talk, try to look back to your childhood and see what you're interested in, because that always brings back something very refreshing and innocent, and it kind of brings you back to life when you think about the things that really were interesting to you as a child. So that's another.
Mhm.
What else? Seek help if you need it. That's one thing I was very shy to do when I was starting. But now it's so easy to
Mm.
message someone on Instagram. So easy to message someone for advice. So that's another thing you can do if you're unsure. And I think just always keeping your eyes and ears open, and pick and select what you think will work for you. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to give advice because I think I've always just gone with the flow. And
Mm.
I really, really absorbed everything that I experienced, and I don't always, things that have happened. I don't think of them as negative. I always think that they contribute to, how I work today. So just
Mm.
shift your perspective. If something doesn't work out, it doesn't mean that um, that's the end of the road.
Mm-mm. Right.
It's
And I actually I do want to bring the question to you mentioned like, there were negatives but you didn't see them as negatives. So was there one big drawback, I guess, in your photography career, like early on at least, like that eventually became a stepping stone for you to want to become better?
oh my, so many, so many,
Many, okay.
so many times I was like, what am I doing? But it wasn't the what am I doing na naka-let down. It's like,
Mm.
oh, I'm sure this will pass. Especially when I was starting, I shot a lot of events. Like I was really that kind of event photographer who would stand on chairs and go up
Mm.
to the balcony and tell them to pose for a picture. And then numerous times, some older tita or tito who recognized me from before would call me out and then say to someone, "Oh, tignan mo, hindi nagtapos ng," or like I didn't drink enough promil, or yes, or like I didn't continue my studies. Oh, tignan mo na lang yung ginagawa niya. Stuff like that. Like
Oh
there
my
were,
gosh.
yeah, like there are a lot of things that could be, I guess, demeaning or said in that or said um in that manner,
Mhm.
or to be down. But I was very proud of the work I was doing. Even
Yeah.
every single shoot I got back then would really make me so happy. Like I couldn't believe people were hiring me to shoot. So anytime I had something like that, it was just like, in one ear out the other, you laugh with it, and then I would say like, at least maganda naman po yung picture nyo. so, so
That's
you kind of
right. That's
really
right.
turn it, around.
Yeah.
And every single experience, really, I had every single kind of shoot I did before really, helped or informed the way I shoot now. People tell me I'm a very fast shooter. I wouldn't have been like that if I didn't shoot events. Um,
Good one.
or
Yeah.
the way that I pay attention to detail in shoots. I used to shoot catalog photography. I used to do the flat images, and I used to fix the garments and shoot food. I also used to write and shoot. So when people tell me, oh, parang kaya mo naman pala magkwento through a photo, it's because when I was shooting for magazines, I would listen to the interviewer and then I would
Mm.
involve myself in every single shoot I did. So no experience is a wasted experience. No matter how many times you're heckled or made fun of, it will pass and you will do something better.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That tita. Wow. That's I mean with a comment like that.
Yeah, not even one, a lot. So many times, like I was, I guess, taken advantage of or expected to be someone, I didn't become.
Mm.
Just tried to keep moving
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
distance myself from it. And the more I created, the more happy and fulfilled I became. So,
Yeah. And
fun
so
creating.
for for the monsters who aren't aware, actually, we're getting to that part of like who Shaira Luna was before she was a photographer. Konti na lang, Shaira. Okay. So for monsters who might not be aware, you were in college when you were how old? Like 13,
13, yeah.
right? Yeah. So okay, so the reason why was that, she was pegged as like one of those gifted children like in during the 90s during formula commercial, infant formula commercial. So it was really so I think it's a good thing that you mentioned like one of these like comments that they had because like so it leads us into this point now. Um, that like how did your parents know like that you were for lack of a better term like how did they know that you were a genius?
Oh, I freaked them out because natakot sila. That's how they put it. Because my mom was studying. She was still studying when she had me, so she
Mm.
would read to me her zoology books, her science books, and then I would um I guess repeat to her what she was teaching me. I was very very young, so she's like,
Whoa.
"Hey, that's weird."
Oh
you're,
my.
you're not supposed to be like remembering everything I teach you.
Uh-huh.
So they brought me out of concern, not really in awe. It was more
Mm.
like, is she crazy? Or
No.
yeah, it was more of like a legit concern. And then
Mm.
they like gave tests, and they had to tell her that this is like a concept, or this is what we call giftedness. Um, yeah, basically your kid's a little different. So little different, little. She has like some needs.
Mhm.
Um, so I think my mom really managed the best she could. She was a very very patient teacher. As in, hindi ako tapunta na nun. Like I really make the most out of my, I guess, brain. So they didn't waste a single like minute trying to nurture whatever I had. And back then it was really horrible for me. Like I couldn't understand why I had to keep studying, why I had to keep doing all these things that other kids didn't do. But now that I'm way way older, I realize it was such a great foundation for discipline, especially
Yeah.
for my work ethic. And now I can say I'm really thankful for my gifted upbringing, or whatever you call it. Because I have so much appreciation um, for a lot of things now because of that.
Mm-mm. And so, as one of the gifted children in the 90s, was there like a lot of pressure for you when you were growing up, or did it open doors for you? Or about the same, like, pareho
Hmm.
lang?
I don't know about opening. Well, the opening doors, I'm not really sure because I was 8-ish, 9-ish. I would get invited to a lot of talks, and then I would perform. So all in one ako guest speaker na tutugtog pa. So
I love it. He made you do all the work talaga.
yeah, it's all in one. Like you get me to give a graduation talk, and then I would do the intermission na rin. Parang ganun. That was my childhood. I think from 9 until I was like 12. That was what I would do.
Wow.
And then I would play instruments. And then when I was 12, I eventually got into broadcasting. Like I was a host and segment producer for quite a number of years also,
Mhm.
which also a lot of people don't know. So, dami ko pang buhay.
I love that though. It's so like, it's so what do you call it? It's so full. You've been living such a full life, actually, if you think about it. Like you've done so much, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's really. I think it also helped. Like sometimes like the things that you do in the past, like you don't know what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then eventually later on, it's like it's a good thing that I actually did that before because now like I'm having it a little bit easier in this position I find myself in. So it's really cool. And so you were also expected to be a doctor, diba? Like you were enrolled in a DLSU for the 6-year medicine course at
Yeah.
13. Oh my gosh.
It's the only college entrance exam I took. Oh, di ba lakas ng loob?
Oo nga eh. I love it. And you're wearing green pa. I love it. You still
Oh my.
school spirit. I love it.
I'm wearing blue because
Oh no, no, no. Actually, I'm green at heart.
ayun. As in, I was that dead set on becoming a doctor because from the age of 2, that was what I thought, or everyone thought I was gonna do. So even if my lola brought me to like reunions or brought me to her office, she'd always say, "Ay, magiging doktor yan at ano
Oh
siya yung Doogie
my.
Howser." So Doogie Howser, if you can know
Yeah.
that show, you can. It's vintage, but it's retro by now. So basically, like I was supposed to become like a really really young doctor, and that of course appealed to me. It was always I was going to be the youngest, and that
Mm,
that was my label for a long time. I was always the youngest in class. I was the youngest like this, youngest in that.
mm,
I felt like I just had to keep that up, and I really didn't know any better.
mm.
So yeah, that was the only entrance exam I took. Buti naman pumasok kasi, di ba? Yeah, but it wasn't long after I entered that I realized it wasn't it.
When
So
did you realize? Like, was there something that when did you discover? I guess like that you no longer wanted to be on that path. You don't want to take medicine or human biology anymore. What were the things that you started doing? I guess, or like, were you neglecting your studies?
I was. Laman ako ng UMall. It was so bad that, well, okay, the first day of class, because I was obviously very sheltered my entire life, and then you enter college all of a sudden, and it's a different environment. It's a completely different environment. You have people from different schools, and they're also so much older than you. I mean, I've always been with people older than I was, but in just very small, controlled environments. So, first day of school, I was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like I was like looking at everyone. They were so serious. They were already looking at their books. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, well, this is real."
Mm-mm.
So yeah, I don't think I really took it seriously, and I didn't feel anything for it. You know the way I talk about photography,
Oh,
like I'm
yeah, yeah.
like I can talk about this and ukay the whole day, but back then there was not even like the tiniest bit of this,
Right.
whatever this is.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I was 13, so I didn't define it that way. But when I look back at it now, it was probably that there was just no emotional
Mm-hmm.
connection to it. So there I
Gotcha.
was giving like career talks since I was 9, and then I get to my first day of class, I'm like, nope. Yeah,
Not for me.
and then my project's like, oh great. So how do I get out of this now? So it took 2 years before I gathered up the courage to scuttle away.
And then, so what was it like to break the news to your parents when you wanted to? You shifted courses, and I think you did that multiple times as well, not just like once.
Yeah.
So to pursue your own interests, like how did you break that to your parents and your Lola, I guess, who really wanted you to be a young doctor?
Well, I don't actually like. I feel like I've blocked off like many chunks of my life.
Okay.
I honestly feel like because there are parts of my life I can't remember. Like when I was 7 years old, I can't remember a single thing from when I was 7 years old. So I don't know. I feel like there are like chunks of memories missing, but
Oh.
I don't know. I can't. How did I say it? But I know I just took the exam to be able to transfer to another college. I think I just did it without telling them, like my
Mm.
tongue piercing, my belly piercing. I did lots of things without telling them.
After
So,
the fact na lang, after the fact.
after na lang, yeah, after na lang. yung wala namang masamang nangyari sa'yo, saka mo na
Yeah.
lang
Uh-oh.
yeah, that's me. So kids, if you're listening, I'm really sorry.
What
After
not to do, I guess.
pero okay naman if you end up doing that. I mean,
And
as
you
long as
survived and so on. Yeah.
you're responsible, you didn't, hurt anyone's feelings along the way. And I mean, alam ko naman sa sarili ko, I'm very responsible anyway. Pero mahilig lang talaga mag-arcade sa mall. So,
Love it. So okay, so you started shifting courses, and then how old were you when you started to have the interest in photography, and then started going out? I think it was a concert. You said music was the first like
gig.
gigs you went to.
Yeah, I
So
was I think it was around 2003 when I bought my first like point and shoot camera. I didn't
mm.
naman, I cut class, I went to Robinson's Manila. I managed to convince the bank that I needed to take my money out from my
Mhm.
past like commercial. I bought my camera, which is like a big amount for me back then. Like, even now, when I think of it, like how did I buy that camera? But we find ways. Yeah, so
Mhm.
in 2003, I was starting to um, watch gigs because my neighbor was Nyoy Volante. So
Whoa. Okay.
my boyfriend, ay, asawa na pala!
Oo.
He was the bassist of Nyoy. So that's
Oh, okay.
like watching gigs. But I really started shooting Kuya Nyoy's gigs. I would, take the stage and take the mic. And then I would shoot the next band after. So syempre now curious to because I was like super quiet in the corner. I didn't know how to socialize. I was taking
Mhm.
pictures. So they would look at the photos. Ay, kunan mo naman yung band namin. So, they would just put it on their Friendster, on their Multiply. And then, yeah, that's just how it started.
Oh, I love that. I mean, like early beginnings, I guess, and it's really nice to look back on those. So, parang you really started out like doing your own thing, doing it on your own, and not really asking for anything in return, right? It's just really for the experience of it, and just like wanting to point and shoot with your with the camera that you somehow persuaded the bank manager to like, give you the money.
I mean, it was my money naman.
Oo. I mean,
Money.
that's true. That's true. Naman.
Like,
So yeah, so like okay, so during these gigs, people would recognize you though because you were still fairly young when you started out, like with the camera, and then they would see you in your gigs. So did they recognize you? Na parang you're that kid in the commercial. You're the one who can like you're the anatomist.
actually, not so much. I remember during that time, I grew out my bangs.
Ah, okay.
I wasn't as recognized when I was starting to shoot those gigs. But then eventually, when I started shooting for like small magazines already,
Mm.
I'm like, like maybe I can be myself again. So the bangs came back, and then I
Hmm.
sort of learned how to manage it was that weird time recognizing me as a photographer and then recognizing me as that kid. So there
Yeah.
was a time where it was parang di pa siya, like this, you didn't know where the scales were tipping. So it was
Hmm.
weird to navigate because people would say, ay, baka kinuha lang yan kasi may connection, or like, baka kinuha lang yan kasi siya yung matalino daw. So
Hmm.
at least now I know when people get me, it's not because of my past, because
Mm. Right.
I'm too young for that. So at least naman, like unti-unti naman, it really worked out in my favor.
That's good. That's good. And so, like, okay, even if you were like a former gifted child and everybody knew you from that, or a lot of people knew you from that when they were growing up, how do you think your genius now or giftedness manifests in your photography career? Like, how does that like the skills that you had? I think you mentioned before. I heard in a like a podcast before there was like a you have photographic memory. So how does that come into play with like your photography career?
Hmm. I feel like it manifests itself sometimes, but I wouldn't be so full of myself to call it photographic memory. I feel like I just
Okay.
remember um colors very easily. Like it's easy for me to match things or put things together.
Okay.
Hey, I don't really know. I have a lot of references in my head, maybe also that come out when I'm shooting. But yeah, it would be hard for me to like pinpoint my photographic memory as the reason behind that. I'd like to think it's skill and
An experience.
experience. Worked hard for this, you know.
You're right, right. Fair enough, fair enough. No, that makes sense. And I'm not like I'm not trying to reason it with the photographic memory, by the way, because it's just does it still come useful, or does it still come to you, I guess, the giftedness, or sometimes, or like have you decided to move away from it? You know what? I just want to live normally.
I don't know. I've always connected the giftedness part to the academics because that's what everyone focused
Okay.
on when I was younger.
Mm.
Um, but I feel like if I wasn't pressed, I wouldn't even do good in school at all. I feel like I've always been a visual, creative person. But back then, the emphasis was given to like studies and books and academics.
Mm-mm.
Um, what I don't know. It's so tricky. I sometimes I feel like I wish I had photographic memory. Sometimes I feel like it would be so easy for me to learn things.
Mm.
But I'm also thankful I learned things the slow way. Like
Mm.
photography I learned by myself and it wasn't overnight either. But honestly, I do feel like sometimes I wish I could just turn on a button of giftedness, and just like solve everything. Um,
Mm-mm.
I don't really know. I also never looked at the definition of giftedness. When we were young, we'd always be interviewed, like, "What's your definition of giftedness?"
Really?
I give like a paper, like I give like an answer from an encyclopedia or an article, and I just give
Mm-hmm.
a short definition of giftedness. I don't know if I even feel it,
Mm-mm.
or I've never thought about it. But it's just that button I wish I could flip sometimes. Like, please
Mm-mm.
give me a dose of giftedness right now.
Yeah, but I mean, but the fact that you were able to overcome that, overcome like how you were, your reputation before, how you were known before, and to becoming a photographer now, it's just really amazing that you've created this whole life for yourself, not by other people's definitions. It's just really cool, and that's why I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people admire you, apart from your work. So it's just like that's why I'm really glad I was able to talk to you today.
you.
You know.
Thank you for asking such like real questions. I mean, a lot of times I really do get the same questions, but
Mhm.
it's nice to talk about like fun things and
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that's why I wanted to ask more photography questions, because I was like, oh my god, she's in it. She's in it. She's in her moment right now. She's in the zone.
go
So
for it.
yeah. So like final question before we end the show, actually. In your own words, what does it mean to live unapologetically?
I think it's to be accepting of whatever outcome your decisions may have. That's probably the best decision you could make. You could have made in that moment. Um, you can have regrets, but always change your perspective. It's always that's kind of been the driving force of my life. Just take a look in another direction. And I think that's what helps me shoot also. I always try to see something extra or something outside of what people normally look at.
Mm, I love that. That's so cool. But anyway, like that's pretty much the show. Thank you so much, Shira, for sharing your life story, basically, here
Thank
on
you
the
for
show.
like bearing with me. Parang ang dami kong like crystal.
No, it was so good because I was like, I wasn't even following like the questions at some point. I was like, I wanted to know more about you, where this conversation was going. So it was. So I love it, and thank you so much. Is there anybody you want to say hi to who's watching right now? Kaya.
Who's watching. Hello to everyone who's watching. I don't know. I think Grace is asleep, or maybe. Hi to
You
all
don't
the
know what he's doing at home. So,
yeah, hi to all the IG shops I buy from. Oh my gosh, please stop me. Ayoko na mag-mine.
I love it. I love it. Well, anyway, ladies and gents and monsters who are tuned in this evening, I had Shaira Luna here on Heard on Thursdays. Photographer. That's how she wants to be. Photographer in the Philippines.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. And so that is it for the show. Catch me again next week for another guest, and I will tell you who it is sometime next week. But for now, keep it locked only here on The Monster. Bye bye.